Hello everyone from beautiful Long Island this week. So this week's Parsha is Parshat Shlach. And famously, everyone knows the story in this week's Parsha. The 12 spies are sent out to go scout out the land of Israel. 10 spies come back with negative reports and 2 come back with positive reports. Now, Rashi brings this up right away. He says that this episode of the spies is right next to last week's Parsha, because in last week's Parsha we had the story about Miriam speaking negatively about her brother Moshe. And this week we have these 10 spies speaking negatively Lashon Hara about the land of Israel itself. Now, I was very bothered by Rashi's answer here, because he said, since in last week's Parsha Miriam spoke Lashon Hara about her brother, so too we see another episode where they're speaking Lashon Hara, but this time just about the land of Israel. But my question is how are the spies supposed to learn that they can't speak Lashon Hara about land, about sticks and stones, when the Lashon Hara last week was really about a person? Like, this totally different relationship. You're speaking about totally different things. So I saw a very, very beautiful answer from Rav Avigdor Nebensal. And it was actually very cool for me because he lived in the building right next to my dorms all year this year in Israel. So it was very cool. And he gives a beautiful answer. And he says, this question enables us to understand that not everything is in our hands. In last week's Parsha, Miriam spoke Lashon Hara about her brother, about his wife, because she thought she knew what was really going on. But clearly she didn't, as she was punished for it. So too in this week's Parsha, the spies go out, they scout out the land of Israel, say, oh, we know what's going on, we see it, we see these giants, they're going to kill us, it's going to be terrible, the fruit, it's too big, all this stuff. And then they come back and they're punished. And not only are they punished, by the way, also another question is, their punishment is so much more severe. As a result of them speaking Lashon Hara about the land of Israel, that entire generation was barred from being able to enter the land of Israel even. So this is unbelievable, and we really see that even though you could see something and think you understand it, really you don't get the full scope of it. And Rav Avigdor Nebensal comes out with the answer. He explains it beautifully, brings it down. I could send the link to this article to anyone who wants to see it. That really only Hashem is the one that knows the entire picture of everything. And that's very understandable, as there's stuff that go on in each and every one of us inside of the land of Israel itself that we just can't know about because we're not them, or we're not the land of Israel. So it's a very important message for all of us to learn from this week's Parsha specifically, and this question on Rashi on the Parsha, that as much as we may think we know what's going on, it's very likely that we don't know the whole picture. So I recommend this wonderful book written by the Chafetz Chaim, recently translated into English. I could also send a link or a picture of the book to anyone who wants to see it. And he breaks down the laws regarding proper speech, as well the proper times where you should speak and where maybe you shouldn't open your mouth. And he brings it all out, and it's very, very important for every one of us to see. And again, by us not knowing the full picture of everything, as we learn from a little kid, just think before you speak. And this is something very, very important, and it's a quintessential point made in this week's Parsha, even in the Torah, for each and every one of us to embody and to really acquire as individuals. And with that, I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom,